Hi friends, in this video we are going to discuss about chapter overview of CGST Act 2017. The main objective of this video is to understand the overview of the CGST Act 2017. So let's begin. CGST law. Law includes acts, rules, forms, notifications, circulars, instruction, guidelines issued by CBIC, orders passed. This video exclusively we are going to discuss only about CGST Act 2017, that too only a overview to get an overall understanding. Before discussing the chapters containing in the Act, let us understand the flow of the Act. In common parlance, let us take an example. If a businessman need to get GST registration done and need to start his business, first what he will do before getting registration is he will check whether his supply, that is his sales, is taxable supply or not. Because there are three schedules. In schedule 3, specifically they have mentioned that some of the transaction cannot be a supply, which means that is outside the purview of GST. The person who is going to start a business no need to get GST registration done. So initially before getting registration, he will check whether he is doing a taxable supply. Then point number 2, he will check whether his supply is specifically exempted via notification. The government may give some specific notifications to exempt a certain supplies. Before getting registration, he will check whether his supply is exempted under notification issued by the government. If he finalizes that it is not exempted, that he is doing a pure taxable supply, then he will go ahead and file a GST registration application. Once GST registration get done, he need to maintain accounts and records under CGST Act. Accounts and records. When he is doing supply, he need to issue a tax invoice under CGST Act. Once he issue tax invoice, he need to collect the tax amount and remit it to the government. Plus, he need to file a return to the government. Once he file a return, proper officer has always an option to assess his return. Assessment done by the proper officer. Once assessment done, proper officer pass an assessment order. Once the assessment order is done, the aggrieved party, the registered person, has an option to go for an appeal. If it is a question of facts, he file an appeal application with the higher authority of the order of the proper officer. The order is passed. Or if it is a question of law, he can file a writ petition with High Court. If he loses the case, he is going to appeal and he lost the case, then he need to pay fine, penalty, interest and taxes. This is the whole cycle, broad cycle that covered in CGST Act. Now let's discuss about the chapters and sections containing in CGST Act 2017. There are 21 chapters containing 174 sections in CGST Act and 3 schedules are contained in CGST Act 2017. In chapter number 1, they have given the preliminary sections. Section 2 is a definition section. All the definitions are given in section 2. Then we already we discussed that he need to check, a businessman need to check whether he is doing a supply or not. About the supply, whether he is doing supply or not, all the details regarding the supply are discussed in section 7 to section 11 of CGST Act 2017, levy and collection of tax. And the heart of the CGST Act, section 17, that is the charging section. All the things covered in chapter 3 of CGST Act. Then what we discussed, if he is doing taxable supply, he need to get GST registration done. Registration related provisions they have given in chapter number 6, section 22 to 30. Whether which person need to get registration, what are all the persons exempted to get registration, when need to get a compulsory registration, all those things they have discussed in section 22 to section 30. Next, what we discussed, after GST registration registration done, they need to maintain, that is a registered person need to maintain accounts and records. Accounts and records relating sections they have mentioned in section 35 and 36 in chapter 8. Next, what we have discussed, tax invoice under CGST. Once accounts and records maintained, while doing the supply, he need to issue a tax invoice. Tax invoice issuance related sections they have given the provision in section 31 to 34, chapter 7. And also in which time they need to issue a invoice. All those things they have covered in chapter number 4. Generally, GST payable is equal to value of supply into rate of tax. This value of supply they have discussed in chapter number 4 from section 12 to 15. So time and value of supply they have discussed in this chapter. Then what we discussed, after collecting the tax, they need to remit and file a returns. So remittance, payment of tax, they have discussed in section 49 to 53, and file a return they have discussed in chapter 37 to 48. After filing a return, proper officer can take the returns for assessment. Assessment related things they have covered in section 59 to 64, that is self-assessment, best judgment assessment, everything related to assessment they have covered in this chapter, and this from section 59 to 64. After that, what we have seen, after passing the assessment order, a registered person can go for appeal. Related sections they have covered in section 107 to 121, appeals. Once the appeal, when registered persons lost his case, then he need to pay a penalty, interest related things. Offense and penalties they have covered from section 122 to 131. In between there are 2-3 chapters. Refunds. Supposing yes, a registered person is doing a export sales, or he is covered under inverted duty structure, then he can get a refund by filing the documents required by CGST Act and the application form. For that procedure and sections provisions they have given from section 54 to 58. Audit. If proper officer during the course of assessment he thinks that he need to get registered person need to get audited, then he can send a he can initiate departmental audit or special audit. That provisions and all cover in section 65 to section 66 of CGST Act. Inspection, search, seizure and arrest. Supposing while maintaining accounts and records, goods are not accounted in accounts and records, or some during transportation, the registered person or transporter not generated e-way bill, then the proper officer has a power to inspect, search, and seize the vehicle or goods and arrest. These provisions are given in section 67 to 72. Once the proper we discussed here, the proper officer can once assessment is done, proper officer pass a assessment order. Proper officer in assessment order, he demands to pay certain amount of tax, but the registered person not fail to pay the tax means he can always initiate the recovery. That proceedings and provisions contained in section 73 to 84 of CGST Act. Liability in pay in certain cases, which means during merger, closure of business, that point of time, how to pay a tax, they have mentioned in section 85 to 94. Advance ruling, we don't know which rate to apply. Example, we don't know which rate to apply for this apply, then we can always go with, we can always file a petition with the advance ruling authority and get the order from advance ruling authority, and we can follow that to avoid a litigation. It will be very useful. That advance ruling related sections they have given in section 95 to section 106. Transitional provision, okay, it's not important, and during the conversion of that is that transitional period from not customs, excise, service tax to GST, these provisions they have mentioned in section 139 to 142. Then other final chapter is 21st chapter is miscellaneous chapter. Here they have covered related to job works and other related things, small basic things they have covered in section 143 to 174. This is the whole overview of CGST Act 2017. Hope that you have found this video be useful. Thanks for watching. Thank you.